I just had a random thought. Roller coasters are kind of like people. Now, what I mean by that is roller coasters will eventually close. There's a lot of roller coasters out there that have bitten the dust way too soon. There's some that have outstayed their welcome. But there's also a lot of roller coasters out there that have closed, and I never got the chance to ride them. I want to rank the top 10 roller coasters that I really wish I got to ride before they closed. We're going to be staying in North America for the sake of realism because that's where I live. I genuinely feel like I would have had a chance to ride a lot of these roller coasters if I were at the right place at the right time. So coming in at number 10, we have Deja Vu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now this is a pretty interesting model because there aren't too many of them out there, and the one that is out there in North America is all the way in the middle of Bumble nowhere. Now, why would this be on the list in the first place? Well, because it got sent to Six Flags New England, and there they completely butchered the ride and ruined it. I would have really liked to ride this ride when it was in its prime, because that's when it had the normal, standard issued trains that the ride was supposed to run with. So getting to ride this as it was originally intended, especially a model like this, which is relatively rare and looks quite good. And I mean, I've heard really good things about this when it was at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Coming in at number 9, we have Vortex at Kings Island. I was only like 2 years away from this. I was planning on going to Kings Island while Vortex was still operating, but those plans fell through in favor of Cedar Point. Whatever ended up happening, I didn't go to Kings Island when Vortex was still operating on its final year, but I did go to Kings Island just 3 years later when Vortex was already dead and buried, and this isn't a great ride compared to other ones on this list. However, every single aero looper like Mega Looper that I've been on has been pretty solid. If you know how to ride them, I think you'll enjoy them. So I feel like I could have enjoyed Vortex at Kings Island. Coming in at number 8, we have Dragon Mountain at Marineland. Wow, look at that. Another aero looper. And this one is even more weird than Vortex was. The whole park is just extremely weird. I've personally never been to Marineland. I might as well just throw the whole park on this list for Dragon Mountain. You're only going to Marineland for Dragon Mountain, so if Dragon Mountain isn't operating, you weren't going to Marineland. That's just how it is, and that's exactly what happened. Dragon Mountain closed. I was hoping it would open up again at some point, but it just never did. And that's unfortunate because this one looked like a really, really unique looper with a rare, very rare, and I believe actually one-of-a-kind bow tie element. At the end of the day, the bow tie is basically just a weird cobra roll where you exit in the same direction you came in as opposed to exiting the opposite direction, but still, it's pretty cool. And at a park like this, it's just a weird fever dream type roller coaster that I really would have liked to experience, but guess I was too late to the party. Coming in at number 7, we have Great American Scream Machine at Six Flags Great Adventure. This one is even closer than the last 3. When I went to Great Adventure for the first time, Scream Machine was in fact still standing. At least half of it anyway. This roller coaster is really fascinating to me because I've heard a lot about it as a kid before going to Great Adventure, about how it's this big, crazy ride, and it's really scary, it has 7 loops, all this stuff about it. It was so elusive. And when I finally go to Great Adventure to check it out in person, there's only half of it still standing. The rest of it's just been torn apart and thrown in a dumpster. And this thing was an engineering marvel. This is literally the ride that saved Great Adventure. And they repay it by just crumbling it up and throwing it in the trash. Coming in at number 6, we have Desperado at Buffalo Bills. This isn't even at a park. This is at a casino. And as far as I'm concerned, this casino is in deep water. I'm pretty sure this thing it's cooked. It's been standing but not operating for like 5 or 6 years or something like that. It's been red tagged, it can't operate. And the casino that this ride is at is basically in financial turmoil. So I don't even see the casino surviving. I can almost guarantee that a lot of people have Desperado on their list of coasters that they wish they got to ride before it closed. Because there's something so cool about riding a massive hypercoaster in the middle of the desert. It's just miles and miles and miles of nothing but sand, tumbleweeds, and scorpions. That's badass. Coming in at number 5, we have Draenfire at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. There was just no way in hell I would have ever been able to ride this. Now, I'm not entirely sure why this ride closed because I didn't research too much about the history of it, but I do know some things that really made this ride stick out to me that actually makes me jealous when I talk to people who say they've ridden it. Why this ride is so fascinating to me is because B&M was still a fledgling manufacturer when Draenfire came out, is they were in the middle of building Kumba at Busch Gardens, Tampa, and because they were a newer company at the time with less experience under their belt, they didn't feel confident in tackling two projects at once. So what ended up happening is Busch Gardens Williamsburg had to go to a different company to build their looper that they wanted for the park. And they decided to go with Arrow because Arrow made Loch Ness Monster, they made Big Bad Wolf. They had a working relationship. So they went to Arrow and they built Draenfire. And this is the only aerodynamics coaster that's ever had a Cobra roll. It's the only aerodynamics coaster that's ever had this support structure. It quite literally looks like they tried to copy B&M bar for bar. But I guess they didn't do it that well because everyone complained about it being a terrible ride. Would I enjoy Draenfire if it were still standing? Would I care about it as much? Probably not, honestly. If it was as bad as everyone says it was, and it were still standing today, I probably wouldn't even give it a second thought. I'd probably skip it every time I went to Busch Gardens. But because it's closed, and because of the weird and interesting way that this ride was built and how it came to be, I love mystery. Coming in at number 4, we have Hypersonic XLC at King's Dominion. King's Dominion literally went to the S&S or the factory, whatever you want to call it. They went there. Now, I don't know who was in charge of King's Dominion at the time, but they saw it and was like, you know what? Don't even bother manufacturing an actual finished, consumer version of this ride. We'll just take the prototype off your lot. The sheer intensity of that launch is why I wish I could have ridden it. This launch is capable of breaking your neck or something because it's so powerful. I don't care about the rest of the layout. It's just the launch, and this was an interesting piece of King's Dominion history right here that I really wish I got to ride. I'm sure many others do too. Coming in at number 3, we have Son of Beast at Kings Island. This one doesn't have as unique of a history as, say, the other previous rides. However, this one was a train wreck from the very start. RCCA is known for making some of the worst coasters, hands down, in the industry. Just not even looking at these rides from a ride standpoint, like how the ride runs and everything, just an engineering standpoint. These rides were terribly engineered, terribly manufactured. They look like they were made with broken ladders. So you know the movie Monster House, where the house gets blown up and then puts itself back together? It was made to be a giant record-breaking wooden coaster, and that's exactly what it was. And it even had a loop, which they removed later on because the new trains weren't able to make it through the loop. Everyone knew it was an engineering flop. It was built like crap. But riding it, oh my gosh, you get bragging rights for that. Coming in at number 2, taking home the silver medal, is Dueling Dragons, also known as Dragon Challenge. Out of all the coasters in this list, this one stings the most. Now, the reason why this one stings so much is because when I went to Universal for the first time, Dueling Dragons was standing. It was operating. I could have gone on it, but I didn't. Why is that? Well, because we were enjoying the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and all that, and by the time we decide to try and head over to Dueling Dragons, they're closed because they broke down. I was this close, and I literally mean this close, to riding Dueling Dragons, a ride that looked really cool, and I did not, because it decided to break down when I wanted to ride it. But don't get me wrong, Hagrid's is a great ride, and it's a great replacement, but Dueling Dragons? And finally, taking home the gold medal, we have Batman and Robin the Chiller at Six Flags Great Adventure. I missed this ride by maybe 3 years, which isn't too bad considering the timeline of everything. But this again has a personal, weird history, at least for me, with why it even closed in the first place and what could have been done differently to keep it running. This roller coaster was built to coincide with the release of the Batman and Robin movie, which failed miserably. I would love to believe that this ride would still be operating if they decided to go with the Mr. Freeze clone. They didn't do that because this is a bigger park and they wanted the capacity, so they did 2. You really had to be lucky to ride both of these because, as I've heard, the Batman side was closed pretty much always, the Robin side was sporadically operating, together, they really never operated as they were intended. It was just a big failure. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to put out there. I don't really make long form videos too often, so I thought this would be a fun idea. All these rides that I mentioned, people still talk about to this day. No matter how long ago they closed, people are still talking about them because they made a pretty big impact on the amusement industry when they did open. That's about all I wanted to talk about today. Until next time.